All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Self-Aware Millennial Podcast. I am your host, J.Mix. If you clicked on this episode, then you already know good and well why you're here. Something about the topic of cheating just brings all the listeners to the yard. So, hey, everybody, especially if you're just coming for the first time. But yeah, this cheating is rightfully so just a really hot topic that will probably never go out of style. I hate saying style, but like it's still a thing. Like we're still learning to not cheat, I guess. So if y'all weren't aware, however, the reason why cheating is so popular, or it's just a thing that everybody gets kind of riled up on, is the fact that infidelity still remains the number one reason that married and unmarried relationships end like all around the world. So it's just something that happens. It happens a lot, and it's something that a lot of us fear, but it's going to happen, or you're going to be in it. You are more likely to be involved in someone like infidelity than like, I always use the word like, than a car crash or like something like a plane crash or something like that. Things that we also fear, but like you're more likely to be in this sort of situation. So anyway, I just want to stick to the United States right quick. An estimate from the Journal of Marriage and Divorce concludes that 70% of married Americans cheat at least once in their marriage. And I actually found some other cool stats from the Hack Spirit article by Paul Bryan. And the LA Intelligence Detective Agency writes that 30 to 60% of married couples will cheat at least once in their marriage. 74% of men and 68% of women admit that they cheated. They would cheat if it was guaranteed that they wouldn't get caught. 60% of affairs start with close friends or coworkers. And as I'm reading these stats, like things are just coming back, and I'm like starting to like emotions, y'all. Emotions are already here, and we have barely started. Another thing that they said that an average affair lasts about 2 years, give or take. And then the last thing that they said was 69% of marriages break up as a result of an affair being discovered. So that is just kind of, real factual. I will leave the information resources in my show notes for y'all so y'all can check it out if you want to know more. There's like a bunch of stuff. Honestly, there's like a whole graph on like just all kinds, like it's all over the place because cheating is so like it can vary, it ebbs and flows. I wouldn't even necessarily say it's subjective or anything. Well, actually, it kind of is. It's kind of subjective, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But to stay on topic, so why do we cheat? So statistics show it's not just because people are not happy in their relationships. Sometimes it's just a lot more complicated than that. There's actually not a clear reason, but we also need to acknowledge that what someone may consider cheating varies from person to person. So, and I'll again check out the graph that I'm going to be posting in the show notes, because there's just a whole lot of different things. Maybe if we have enough time, we'll kind of go through it, but it kind of basically shows like what men and what women consider cheating, and like the percentage, like, because like some people don't consider just hanging out without like your spouse, like just like opposite sex or opposite, or like whoever, someone that is not your main partner. Sometimes people see like if you're hanging out with someone else, like they think that's cheating too. But I think it all depends on the context. Anyway, so I guess I'll start off with my experience with cheating before we go into Bryant and Erin, who have joined me today. Thank y'all so much for being here. You are awesome. I cannot wait to introduce y'all like officially, but let me get just my story in here right quick, and then we'll start talking about y'all, because then we can connect and figure things out. And this is the kind of conversations I love. This is the conversations I like get really, really passionate about. So my experience with cheating, I may have mentioned this before, actually. I'm fairly sure it was back in like episode 23 with Dylan. But I kind of sort of like gave like a quick hint that I had been cheated on. I've never cheated on someone before, but I've been on the receiving end of being cheated on, and it was not cool, not fun at all. And I went through all the emotions, like it feels like the stages of grief, but like not like because our relationship died. Well, it felt like the relationship died and it had to come back to life, but like it literally, like the stages of grief were all there. But long story short, I was cheated on by my partner twice. I only found out about the first time that it happened the second time around. Sorry, I should be a little bit more specific. So he cheated on me with two different people. I only found out about the first person with the second instance, because what happened was I caught him texting a coworker that I had already had a feeling that they were like kind of close and like they were getting close and whatnot. And it wasn't completely like that was just a conversation that we never had, or like I was trying to have that conversation with him. I'm almost certain that I was like trying to like I was the one that was asking questions and he just wasn't really giving me anything about it. So like if I see that he's texting this coworker, I'm like, oh, you're texting this person, you're texting them kind of late. Like, are y'all talking about work? You know, like not that I wanted to like at that point in our relationship, that was something where like that's something that I wanted to know. These days it's not, but at that time I was like, if you're not talking about work, if you're literally texting each other at like 2 a.m. and I'm like laying in the bed, like beside you, and I know y'all not talking about work, you know? So, yeah, how do I get out of that? So, yeah, this is so weird. I don't want to give all the details though. I feel like details are very important. Y'all are going to get the details. Y'all aren't going to get the details. What's going to happen is I'm going to cut it right here so that y'all can listen to the details on Patreon. And then we'll cut back and y'all get to hear everything else that I have to say. This is where we'll go back into everything. If you want to hear again about my cheating situations, you can follow Patreon. Now, oh my gosh. How long did that take? Hold on. I just want to see a time.
Like 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
I feel like I'm on an emotional roller coaster
already.
right
I'm
now.
already having the feels.
Me and Bryant the whole time we're like,
yeah, but I think it's interesting, especially, and I think we'll talk about this a little later, but like cheating for other folks is like everybody considers cheating something to be something different. In my instances, it was two different means of cheating. One was just literally just like through text message, and it was really sexually induced text messaging that I didn't know about. And the other was actual like a physical, but it wasn't like full on intercourse or anything, but it still was cheating to me and it felt gut-wrenching to me. And so that's what I consider cheating, the betrayal of it all. Anyway, so I want to hear about y'all's experience with cheating before we get into but actually let's introduce y'all first. Hold on, let's get everybody to like y'all first. Let's get everybody to like identify with you and
yeah, because it's gonna be really hard to like me after this.
Right. So let's do that first. Let's be like, hey yo, I also like Squid Game, and I also
I know,
right?
Everyone's gonna think we're narcissists because we're coming on a podcast and talk about this. They're like, oh, they're gonna do these terrible things and then go on a podcast and talk about it. Wow.
Yeah.
I told Jess I had a therapy appointment this morning before this to prepare myself.
Oh, my boyfriend is literally walking around right now. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to be talking about this. So just, he's got his headphones in. I think he's listening to a podcast of his own.
Okay, cool. In a couple of, whenever this does premiere, then he can listen to this one too.
Exactly. Yeah. He's going to have to.
All right. Well, let's start with Bryant.
Okay. Um, so I believe whenever I first reached out to you, I described myself as a perpetual cheater.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, why do you
um,
say that?
I have cheated in every serious relationship that I have been in,
Okay. Tell me more.
for different reasons. But I guess like the story that I'd like to talk about today, it's I guess it's what, when I think back on it, it's when I see like the worst parts of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I first moved to New Orleans in 2016, I moved there and quickly started seeing someone and that I had met on social media like a year and a half before I moved to New Orleans. So we had already like started to get to know each other. But it was like really casual whenever I moved to the city from Lafayette. Um, and we quickly started to get like more and more serious, but we both like were self-described pretty much whores, and liked to do our own thing.
Hey,
And
at least
I
you
had never,
admitted it.
right. And I had never been in an open relationship before.
Mhm.
So eventually, after about 6 months, we finally decided to start seriously dating,
Mhm.
but on the condition that it would be an open relationship, physically, not emotionally.
Okay.
But we
Oh,
That's
weren't,
tough.
that, yeah, that,
Because
yeah,
right.
how do you gauge? I mean, you
So
can't. You just have to take the other
yeah.
person's
exactly,
word for it.
exactly. So, and this person, I was already having issues. I think we were both dealing with our own issues, being truly vulnerable with each other and having like a really deep connection. So that made it even harder because the one thing that I craved the most was this like just genuine connection with someone. So what started off as me just like enjoying my time, um, doing whatever I wanted, having sex with whoever I wanted, whenever I wanted, which was great, quickly turned into me like wanting to get to know these people.
Yep.
And sometimes it was like really short. It could be just like a couple days or something. Just have like quick flings just to like satiate my need, and then I
Mm-hmm.
could just cut them off because I also I have borderline personality disorder, and I suffer a lot with splitting or black and
Mm.
white thinking, where I see everything, most things in absolutes, where people are either all good or all bad.
Mm.
So
Gotcha.
at the times where I would see my partner as all bad, I would try and find somebody who I saw as all good.
Ah, that's so interesting. Okay.
And
Tell me,
then the
tell me more.
Brian,
time,
it sounds like you've talked about this in therapy. You have such like a good, clear, like
yeah,
understanding of like
Yeah.
the
yeah,
way, like such a full view of like the way you see the situation. And it's really, really great.
I love it.
um, so and then the times whenever I saw my partner as a good partner and a decent person, I didn't seek those emotional connections.
Mm.
Um, eventually I met someone who was in town on vacation in New Orleans, and it was just like supposed to be like a grinder hookup. So like rode my bike over to their Airbnb, we did our thing, and then but we like talked after, and it just like felt real for some reason. And then
What? Wait, hold up. What do you mean by real? Real. What do you mean by
real,
that?
like it was like I could instantly, when I started like hanging out with this person, see myself with them. Whereas the
Okay.
other people that I had formed emotional connections with, I never wanted to leave my partner for them.
I see. I see. Okay. Okay.
So I left the hookup, rode to my partner's work to watch RuPaul's Drag Race and eat pizza. And and then this person, I'll say their name is Scott, and my partner at the time's name will say their name is Andy.
Okay.
Um, So Scott messages me while I'm at Andy's work and says, "Hey, do you want to come back over?" I was like, "Sure." Had a great time. So I go back, we have sex again, and then his friends weren't in town yet, so he was at his Airbnb together. So I decided, oh, you can just come hang out at my house with me and my roommates, whatever. And then he was in town for 3 days. That turned into us spending every single moment of him being in town together, and me avoiding my partner the entire time that Scott was in town.
Gotcha.
That turned into 3 months of us talking on the phone every day, and then eventually him coming visit me for a week, and me telling my partner that I just had a friend in town that was coming in town for an interview for a job because he was thinking about moving here because I had been talking to Scott about moving to New Orleans. That's the crazy in me. Like, that's
not crazy. You're just trying to conceptualize, or
Bryant, no.
But anyway,
I can see why you did that. I'm not trying to affirm it, but I can see why you're. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, go ahead.
It's also so romantic. It's also so romantic, but it's also so
it was very, very romantic at the time. But at the same time, me and Andy were like somehow connecting more than we had before. So I'm falling deeper in love with my partner than I was before, but also falling deeply in love with this new person.
Can we pause there? Put a pin in it right quick. Why do you think that happened? Do you think it's because of just your extra love that you're getting from Scott that kind of bled into maybe your love for Andy? Because go ahead. That's what I'm curious about.
I don't know. Part of me thinks that Andy knew that something was going on, and I can't
overcompensating for
and was like trying to be like, oh shit, like I might lose Bryant. And then it got to the point where it was becoming a reality that Scott was going to be moving to New Orleans, and we decided that I was going to break up with Andy and be with Scott.
Ooh.
All while I was going to New York, meeting Andy's family, meeting his grandmother.
Oh, whoa!
Talking about getting a house with him. Okay. All while I already had plans to break up with him and be with Scott.
I'm on the edge of my seat. I need to know how it works out.
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything because I don't know who you ended up with or what. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but man.
So all this happens, and then in July, Scott finally moves to New Orleans. I don't break up with Andy until the day before Scott gets here.
Oh man.
Scott lives with a friend that he already had in New Orleans for a month, and then we get an apartment together. After only spending a month really together, other than our virtual relationship.
Wait, and this was this July that this happened?
No, this was 2.5 years ago.
Okay, I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, Brian.
Okay.
I was like, this is a lot.
So this was the July before COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we got an apartment together.
Okay.
Andy didn't talk to me at all after the day that I broke up with him and told him that I was leaving him for Scott.
How is have you spoken to Andy since any of this?
Oh, yeah, we dated again. Briefly.
Okay, and is this while you were still with Scott?
Yeah, wait, what happened with Scott? You guys moved
So
in together
Scott,
and then what?
yeah, we dated for about 8 months.
Okay.
We just living with someone
Is different.
It's very different, especially when you're getting to know each other while you're living with each other.
Yeah.
And I just became so codependent. And I guess like the facade of who I wanted Scott to see me as, like when we first met, was like slowly falling. And he just like, I felt like him just like pulling away.
Oh.
And like my fear of abandonment got the best of me.
Yeah.
And I ended up cheating on him.
Oh, I was going to ask that
He
too.
doesn't know that.
Oh, well.
That's why we use the
he might now, but
yeah, he might now.
he ended up breaking up with me.
Okay.
Because he just couldn't take it anymore, because I was just super, super jealous.
Wait, jealous why?
Because me and Scott were not in an open relationship at all. And I just, since I was so codependent on him, and he was just very, very attractive. Which made it hard to deal with because
your insecurity of that
because
person having
right.
like other people looking at them and like desiring it. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I would just get like super suspicious all the time. That I had convinced myself that he had already cheated on me. So why not?
And Bryant, I don't want to psychoanalyze you, but like you said that you have this like fear of abandonment, and that was like really getting in the way of your relationship. And you also said that you had this fear of like, the way other people were looking at your partner and like that insecurity. And then in the conclusion, you ended up cheating on him. It seems like you had such a fear that he was going to cheat on you that I did it first. Yeah. I'm glad you find that valid. I hope I didn't overstep by making that connection.
No. I mean, that's exactly what's happening.
Hey.
So yeah, we broke up, and then not even 6 months later, probably, I reached out to Andy. And
how did that conversation go? That's what I want to know. Like, hey,
he invited me over to his house. I went over, we apologized to each other, and then we just kind of didn't talk about it again. And then, so yeah, that didn't work out. We dated for probably another like month or so. And then my dad passed away, and it went back to him just being very emotionally distant and like not knowing how to like be there for me in that situation.
Yeah.
And then
that's when you really needed him too.
When I really, really needed him. Yeah. And then I ended up breaking up with him, but pretty much ghosting him.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So at this point, are you with anyone right now?
I have purposely not dated anybody for a very, very long time, just because I see the patterns within myself. And I've been getting like a lot of help between like therapy and other things. And yeah. And moving back to Lafayette. So it's just like it's very lonely though, being that way, like purposely isolating myself from any type of like romantic connection. But it's also like I don't want to inflict the same pain on anyone else until I can like figure my shit out.
Right. do you fear like you were saying, just codependency? Would you say that your relationships up until you broke up with Andy the second time, did you find yourself like wanting were you like kind of a, what do they call it, like a serial monogamous, but like just someone that's always in a relationship, like when one like one after the other and not really taking breaks?
For the most part, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for sharing your story. We're gonna kind of circle back on it once we hear from Erin, and then we'll connect all of these stories together and continue this bigger conversation. So Erin, you have the floor. We are listening, all ears.
Oh, incredible. I'm going into the back room because
okay,
my boyfriend's still getting ready for work. And while he is a part of the story, it's still going to make me feel awkward to say it with standing right there.
Yeah.
So I'm Erin. You want me to say things that'll make you like me first? Yes. Let me think. So I know you, Miss J.Mix, from theater in New Orleans. I don't know if we've ever done a show together, but I think we just are part of the same community, the same New Orleans community. Yeah. I live in Chicago now. I've lived in Chicago for the past 3 years. I have a theater company here. I work in schools. Yeah, I do. Girl, come on. come to our show.
I will. Just let me know. I'm so serious.
I have a spare room in my new apartment, so you could even stay with me.
Don't tell
me. I know. Listen, I'm for real. I have it's an air mattress, but
hey, we'll make it work. I also have family in Chicago too, so
come before it gets cold though, because that's coming. I work at a school, and it's like a French school. So I get to, work in English and French, and the French kind of comes in to play, in my story because, my now partner and I met when we were studying abroad in France. So I don't know, sometimes when I tell this story to people here, it's like this weird combination of like, it's like a movie and it's like somehow like the most like Southern trope of like relationships of like, oh, we like were together when we were like 16. And then we like, we're in these, like, I feel like in the South, there's always these like, yeah, we dated in high school, but we were together for like 10 years. And like, that stuff is just not really as, I feel like, prevalent in like other parts of the country, at least in my experience. So like my ex-boyfriend and I don't know, it was such like a best friends, like will they or won't they in the movie in my brain of like what my high school life looked like. He and I were like really good friends, and he like took me as a friend to like my first homecoming, my freshman year of high school. And it was, everybody was like, oh, they're going to get married someday. They're like this perfect, like little couple. And, he ended up, he was 2 years older than me, and he never really liked me. And then I ended up dating somebody else, like my first real boyfriend in high school. And then after that relationship ended, I think he had like FOMO and he was like, just kidding. Like, I do like you. And I was like, yes, this is this is everything that I've ever wanted. And in retrospect, it's so funny to have this like feeling in retrospect, but I do, even though I was like 17 when this happened, it's like, I do remember feeling like it wasn't quite right, this relationship that I had always like wanted. I remember feeling like not as excited about it as the motif of my life up until, the like where I am now is I felt like I always would have these like feelings, and I'd be like, I would just write them off as me being like not in a good place, or not being, or like having like trauma. And so like not, registering the situation properly. But so we ended up being together, and it was, we were together for 3 years. I kind of followed him to college. And really, when I reflect on he and I's relationship, I think that, we were together for 3 years, and we really didn't fight very much. And he, he was with me when my dad died, and was super, super supportive of me, was really just, I had a kind of like really rough family situation growing up. I like didn't really want to be at home. There was just like a lot of stuff going on. And he came from like a really, really, really stable family. Like nobody was even divorced in his family. I was like best friends with his cousin, and they kind of really, it was kind of a combination of me, I was obviously in a relationship with him, but I also felt
you were in a relationship with his family too.
Yeah. They really like kind of adopted me, like I spent like every holiday with his family. His like aunt would like drive me home from school because her daughter went to the same school as me. So I was just became like so integrated. And because of him, to give him like as much credit as it can possibly give him, I mean, like I went to college wanting to be like a science major because my mom works in the arts, and I was like, I need to make money. But when I started hating that, he was super supportive of me, like changing my major to theater. And then when I eventually decided that I wanted to, save up all my waitressing money to study abroad, he was also really supportive of me of that. And so I don't think that I would have, all these like big decisions that I made in my life, I don't think I ever would have been able to make them without him. I wouldn't have had like the bravery. But then at the same time, there were a lot of elements of our relationship that I wasn't really honest with myself about. Like he was, an engineering major, and he always sort of had this like tone that it didn't really matter what I did with my life, because at the end of the day, I was just going to go wherever he went, and he was just going to, make money and work, and I could just, do whatever I did on the side. He also had a lot of like really, like archaic opinions about like homosexuality. Like I remember I had a really close friend once that like, I was like, hey, like, you should really hang out with this guy. Like, he's like my best friend and you guys have never met. I feel like you guys would get along so well. I remember him being like, oh, I don't think we would have a lot in common. And I was like, why? And he was like, oh, because he's gay. And I was like, what do you mean you wouldn't have anything in common with him? But when you're 17 and you're dating somebody, I just feel like sometimes people say dumb shit and you just like don't know how to like process it. Like you don't realize like
you're also 17. You're not technically expected to, you're not supposed to be expected to at 17. I feel like that's like where you start learning to, but you don't really get it.
Yeah, to hold people to these standards. But so anyway, me going to France was always this like irresponsible thing because I did not have any money and I didn't have my, mom to support me in it. But I was like, it was something I always wanted to do. And, I went there and I was going to spend the whole summer without my boyfriend. And I was like, super nervous, but like super excited. And I remember going and it just being like a truly like, I never gained so much confidence, like doing something. I was like, I've like done this on my own. And like, I felt like truly like high the entire time. Like I didn't believe that it was something that was ever going to be like available to me. And I was so proud of myself for like being able to accomplish it. And when I was there, like the first day we, go on this like scavenger hunt around France, around Paris. And I got put in a group with like 3 other people, one of which is I have to use his name because he's my now boyfriend, Will. So spoiler, okay. But he he and I were in a group together and we just got along really well. And it wasn't, I feel like usually when you hear stories like this, it's like, oh, like I saw him and we met and it was like, oh, like this is like the thing and like this is it. But it really wasn't. It's like, you're studying abroad and you don't know anybody and you need a friend to like walk around with and like go see the Eiffel Tower with and stuff.
Yeah.
And we really got along that first day. And then we were like, okay, like next day, like, do you want to go to this museum with me? And I remember this is kind of, it's so cheesy, but at this point in college, I was preparing to direct the first show I had ever directed. I remember I was like super nervous when I applied for it. I was like, I didn't know if I was like, because I was an actor that whole time up until that, and so I was so nervous about like failing. So I spent the summer abroad, but I was like, I brought my script with me. I was like, I'm gonna work on my blocking and like prepare like the summer for the show that I'm directing in the fall. I remember just like mentioning it to Will, and he was like, I had only known him for a couple of days, and he was like, oh, that sounds like really interesting. Like, could I borrow the script? I'd love to read it. And I don't know if you guys, I don't know. Okay, I'm sure, Jessica, from like doing theater stuff, a lot of times people will be like, oh, can I read it? It's like 9 times out of 10, they don't read it. They just like take the script and they like, you like never see it again. Right. But you give it to them to be polite. So I was like, okay, like, here's my script. I was like, but you have to give it back. Cause it's mine that I'm working on. Literally next day, he like comes to me, like so excited, like for like skipping up to me. He's like, hey, like I read the script last night. Like, I would love to talk about it. I'd love to know like why you like want to do it. And
that's green flags. That's green flags all around.
Well, and it seems so silly, but truly I realized like in that moment that at that point, I had like tons of really close friends. I had, this boyfriend that I had been with for 3 years, and I had been like agonizing, like talking about how like much this whole thing meant to me. And nobody in my life had even considered reading the thing that I was working on. And I was just like, this person is great. So we ended up spending a whole lot more time together. We had these like really amazing conversations. We were like going around all these beautiful places, and we ended up sleeping together. He, it's France, so obviously you're like caught up in this like whirlwind of everyone.
It's the area of the city of love or whatever.
Right. Like and you're studying abroad, so there's this whole like everyone's just like
adventures, and they're in a different place, and it's like everything is new. Everything feels like nothing's familiar. So like being around people that are also on that same high, it's very easy. You're more open and vulnerable to something like that. Now, may I ask, was Will aware that you had a boyfriend back home?
Yeah. So this is what I was going to say. So like the whirlwind of experiences is totally true, but I also don't want to make that as an excuse. So he was also in a long-term relationship, even longer than me. I think they had been together for 5 years, and my boyfriend, I had been together for 3 years, both kind of similar situations of like, started dating in high school into college. I think we both had separate instances in our relationships where we'd like almost broken up, but then like got talked into it otherwise, or like, was like, oh, maybe we'll just like wait and see. And, that we were, while you're spending a whole summer apart, we both had like talked to one another about like, not in a way of like, oh, like you're having problems with your significant other, don't you want to like hang out with me? But like truly like in like a friend way, like, hey, like you seem like you're going through something right now. Like, what's the problem? And it'd be like, oh, I was texting my person at home, and they're like giving me a hard time about this, or like they're, upset about this, that, or the other. And I mean, honestly, it sounds like impossible. It sounds fake, but I really do feel like there were like 2 things happening at once. Like he and I really like being friends with one another and like trying to like support each other through the decisions that I think we both knew that we should have made before we came and studied abroad with our partners. And then also the separate thing of like us kind of like falling for each other in that moment. But so that happened. But, once it got clear that, the summer was ending and we like had to come back. So I was coming back to New Orleans, and he was going to go like travel more with his family, and then his girlfriend was going to meet him up there, and then they were going to like go backpacking through like more of Europe. And I remember when we said bye to each other at the airport, I was like, hey, like I don't know if we're going to see each other again, like in this context. And he was totally the same way. Like we were both like very much so like, I'm not making any promises to you. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. And like, I don't want to disappoint you. And so like, we just need to act like this is the end. And we were both like very, very like firm with one another. And I truly didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what was going to happen.
May I ask, would y'all like spend time with each other like every single day while y'all were on this trip?
Yeah.
day?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, okay.
there were like some exceptions, like, you know, depending on like the classes that you took, that you go on like different like weekend trips or whatever. But yeah, it was like the whole summer. It was like
Okay.
almost 2 months. And we spent time together every day. I mean, in groups
Yeah.
too, but like we became like really, really good friends also.
Gotcha.
For
So
that time.
so at this point y'all had cell phones, right? So were y'all still like texting each other as like once y'all have parted ways, were y'all still like contacting each other?
So it actually actually went very quickly. So like, so we, you know, when you're in Europe, or at least there was then, you know, you couldn't really like message people like in the States very easily. You had to be like connected to Wi-Fi. So we were kind of like out of contact with most of the people in the States. So we weren't really messaging each other ever. We were just hanging out in person. And then when I left, I remember being on the airplane and being like, you know, I hadn't like really thought about what I was going to do about this knowledge, right? Like I was like, you know, I've cheated on my boyfriend. I, you know, either have to like tell him and like work it out and like see if he'll forgive me, or I have to break up with him. And I didn't know what I was going to do until the whole time. I'll never forget the feeling, because he actually picked me up from the airport. I remember like seeing him for the first time and like just instantly knowing that I was breaking up with him. Like as soon as I like made eye contact with him, I was like, and he knew. I mean, I don't know what he knew, but he knew that there was something wrong. Because, you know, we hadn't seen each other the whole summer. And so, you know, long story short, it ended up being like 3 days of like agonizing, like us breaking up, like me staying at his house and us just like talking and talking and talking. I don't think I ever told him that the reason I don't think I was ever like, I slept with somebody else, we need to break up. Because I think like when it was happening, I realized that I had so many other reasons for us to break up. Like almost like ruining it, like self-sabotaging in that way gave me the like enlightenment to like, it gave me like permission to break up with him for all the reasons that I had up until that point, that I felt like I couldn't, because, you know, he had just been so kind to me, and we've been together for so long, and he had been with me for so many things. I felt like just not being in love with somebody anymore wasn't a good enough reason to break up with somebody. I felt like something like, I don't know. I felt like something had to happen. Like he had to do something wrong, or I had to do something wrong in order
well,
for it to justify it.
Yeah, you mentioned that he was a good partner overall. So what part of that relationship where you were like, yeah, this has to end? Was it just you know, not necessarily like losing let's say a spark, but like did you just feel like y'all weren't compatible anymore compared to how you and Will are compatible? Or like knowing now what you had with Will, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm looking for. I don't know. Like you also mentioned Will was really into like reading your scripts. Like was Will not Will, your ex-boyfriend, was he into that? Or
he I think that at the end, I mean, I don't want to like belittle it by being like, you know, oh, you know, like Will just liked to read my script and like he didn't. Because I think and I also understand that like it's from the perspective of, because I've told this story to my friends and stuff too, like from the perspective of people who like have been cheated on, it's like it doesn't make any sense. It's like if he did everything right, like how could you have like done this to him? And I've had to like work with that within myself too. And really it's that there were so many things that we like did not connect on, and so many times that I like we would fight, and I was like, I didn't know why we were fighting. It was just because we outgrew each other, I think a long time ago. And I think that we really had different dreams for each other. And I think once you get to a certain point in like seriousness in a relationship, it's not about like whether you get along, it's about whether you like want the same type of life.
Right.
And and we realized, I think, or at least I realized, that we absolutely did not. And he really didn't value the same things that I valued. But it's hard to hurt somebody because for a reason like that. And I feel, you know, he's like engaged now and is like super successful. And like, you know, after we, so, you know, we broke up, and I texted Will, who was still in Europe, and I was like, hey, like, just so you know, like, this happened. Like, so if you don't want me to talk to you, like, if you don't want me to message you, like, that's fine. Like, let me know, but just know that like, I'm single. So like now, so like, I may want to message you. And he, this is like his version. I mean, obviously he would tell it better, but basically like he talked to his mom and was like, hey, like this happened with me and this girl on the trip. And like, I don't know.
I told his mom.
Yeah, he had to.
That's what I'm talking about.
He was with her like on vacation, and he was like, I don't know what to do. He was like, I don't want to hurt people. He was like, but you know, I don't want my girlfriend to come to Europe and then us end up breaking up in Europe, because that would ruin this experience for her. And so he ended up pegging her. He ended up like reimbursing her for like the cost of her ticket to go to Europe. And like, they broke up like over the phone. Wow. And he was like, hey, like this can't happen. And, you know, he came back from his trip, and we had not had like a conversation about like us being together or anything like that, but we just like kind of started hanging out, and we were only really together like for our close friends, because we didn't want, I don't know, we just didn't want people to think that like the reason why our relationships ended were to be with one another, because there were so many other like years of things that like led up to those things for both of us. And sometimes when we think about it, we'll just be like laying in bed, because he and I have been together for 7 years now. So it's been like a lot. I mean, it is a complete fluke that we ended up working out so well. I think that like there was like the us that like helped each other like get out of our relationships. And then there is like the us that ended up like working out and like having like a really great relationship with one another. But I don't think that, I think that the way that we got together is like really exciting, but it's also like definitely a thing that he and I both in like all of our relationships with people are like, this is when people ask how we got together, we always have to figure out how much we want to tell, and like how much we want to filter it, because it's not ideal. But at the end of the day, if I were to like, the one like lesson that I think I've taken from it is that like if you are having feelings for somebody else, or if you like are wanting to like sleep with somebody else instead of your partner, it's probably because you should have broken up with your partner a while ago.
Okay.
And at least in my experience, I feel, or there's something that you're not communicating to your partner. There's a problem that you're not addressing, and you're trying to address it like in this way. And this is not the way to address it. Like if I could go back and change something, I just would have broken up with my ex-boyfriend before all of this happened, and it would have saved a lot of people a lot of feelings.
Okay. Wow. That was so like, well, like you said all of that so well, like almost as if you like had this conversation or like talked about this before.
Oh, I mean, I definitely have talked about it before. I've definitely talked about it before. I feel, you know, and I used to feel really embarrassed about it. Since I agreed to like since I like messaged you and was like, oh, like be on the podcast, I've like talked to a couple friends about it. They're like, oh, that's weird that like you're gonna like talk about it on a podcast. But I was like, you know, it's nice to show, like, I think for me,
this is an underrepresented community of people that are so common that they don't really get a chance to tell their story about like why they cheated. And I think it humanizes people when you can do that. Well, and you realize you're not alone, you know?
It's so easy. I mean, it's the wrong thing to do. Cheating on somebody is the wrong thing to do.
It is the wrong thing to do. But,
right? But I mean, every situation is different, and it's a whole lot more nuanced than like the person who cheated is a bad person and the person who got cheated on is like a victim. Like obviously the person who got cheated on is a victim in that situation, but like there are lessons to be learned from like cheating and like being cheated on. And there's so much like opportunity to grow and like learn about yourself. And I think that, you know, just recognizing I feel like this experience for me, like of cheating on somebody, and I feel lucky that I don't, at least to my knowledge, I don't think I've ever been cheated on before, but I do feel like having this experience would really help me to be empathetic if I were to ever be cheated on, to like understand that experience.
Yeah, understood. So I thank you first off for like giving your whole story on that. Thank you, I appreciate it. I want to kind of tie it back to kind of something that Bryant was saying earlier. You mentioned, Erin, that just now you said, oh God, I just forgot. I always do this every single time, every episode. Like I have it in my head and then it just flies away and I have to try to go catch it. So let me try to catch it. You first off, okay, no, first question, Erin, was, well, no, you just answered that question. The question is for Bryant. Bryant, have you ever been cheated on by someone else? Because I don't think I asked that question.
Yes.
Okay.
I have been.
Okay. How did you find out? How did you feel after?
I found out by going through my partner's messages. Okay. And it felt like shit.
Okay. Okay.
But
cool.
Like I said, I am a perpetual cheater and I had already cheated on them at that point.
Okay. So, and did they know at that point?
No.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Great context. Awesome. So, Erin, you had just said, when you were just closing up about right now, you said something along the lines of, if you are having feelings for someone else that's not your main partner, that means you need to break up with your first partner. Is that what you basically said, right?
Yeah, I don't want to speak in absolutes though. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily true, because I know that like polyamory is like a very legitimate thing that people experience, and non-monogamy is something that works for a lot of people. But I do think that if not necessarily if you want to cheat on somebody, but I feel like if your instinct is that you need to like lie and like keep things and like connive and, you know, do something that you know would hurt if you were in a situation where you know that you were doing something that would hurt your partner and you were doing it and you were like choosing to do it, I think that it's a sign that you are not meeting your relationship where you want to be meeting it, and you need to like look and think about like what is the reason. Because it could be because it can't just be that, you know, you saw a hot person. It's like you're not an animal. You have like a higher intelligence than that. It's not just that you can't control yourself around a hot person. It's like there's something like
there's a lot more
deeper going on, and you're cheating yourself out of that realization if you just, you know, write it off to you know, being tempted, or, you know, it being like a one-time moment. There's always more.
Yeah,
exactly. Like I think about how many times I could have saved my partners from experiencing more pain and myself from experiencing more pain if I would have ended relationships sooner and not let them end the way that they have.
What makes you think what makes you feel as though, like yourself or just anyone, what stops them from ending it sooner? What do you feel it overall?
For me, it was one, not wanting to be alone. Fear of, well, if I do break up with this partner, is the person that I am seeing on the side actually going to want to be with me? That was one big thing that I had the biggest struggle with whenever I was dealing with my situation with Scott and Andy.
Trying to secure one relationship, you know, making sure that your relationship before you let go of the other.
I think fear of being alone is like a really legitimate fear. I also feel like for me, I felt like, I mean, just in my specific situation, I didn't feel like my feelings were really validated in my previous relationship. And so like in that, I really internalized that to not feeling valid in my doubts about the relationship. Yeah. So I felt like if I were to end it, that, you know, my reasons weren't good enough. Like, and my reasons were trite. And that at the end of the day, it was like something that like, I was scared that like I would be self-sabotaging by breaking up with him. Cause I was like, you know, you don't have these feelings for him, but like, that's because you're fucked up. Like there's something wrong with you. Like you should be like, this should be working for you. And because it's not, it means something bad about you. So for me, I feel like cheating and like ruining it sort of like gave me that permission to see my other reasons as being valid.
Yeah. And you know, even if folks aren't cheating, like there are plenty of reasons, like, and this is just like a blanket statement, but like in terms of relationships in general, like they're not all meant to work out, and it's okay if they don't work out. And also we are evolutionary people. We are going to keep growing, and sometimes like in Erin's situation, you grow out of each other. And in order to like being able to acknowledge that, you may not have someone, you know, that like in Erin's case, she had someone, but sometimes you don't have someone for you whenever you break off with another person, that's still like aligning with where you want to go in life. And I think it's being able to jump anyway and like, or split off anyway, not knowing who that next person is going to be. But also I wonder, this may just be like a thing of like just our humans are community oriented people. And I would also say even myself, well, not to, myself, but like, I feel like other people, like we all just kind of like want to, we like being in relationships. We're not necessarily like, we'd rather have someone, or at least someone that we can physically or emotionally be with, even if, you know, it's not completely serious. Like we like to at least have someone. I know I do. But I know I could probably, I'll say maybe 3 months tops. I feel like I would be okay if I wasn't with anybody. Like if I didn't have nobody, how am I getting back into the conversation of cheating on this? Because I feel like this all makes sense. Yeah, go ahead.
Because it's scary. I was just gonna say it's scary. It's scary to be alone. And like if you want, I mean, I could just imagine. I mean, like if you want to break up with somebody, like secret, like deep down, but you're scared of being alone, it's like, you know, of course that, you know, feelings don't come up as strongly unless there's somebody else on the radar. Because if that fear of being alone is like really driving you, then it's like, it makes sense that you would, you know, want to. But the thing is that like, it takes a lot of like self-assuredness and trust in yourself and your own feelings and your own judgment to leave a relationship just based on you growing like away from them, or you like realizing that it's not what you want anymore. It takes you trusting your own judgment about what's right for you. And that's really, 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 really hard.
Yes. This is why this podcast exists.
Yeah.
Like you literally just explained like a nice little teaser. It's like, are you feeling like, you know, it's hard for you to get out of a relationship? You should listen to the Self-Aware Millennial podcast. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, but you know, the thing is that like, it's hard to be self-aware. It takes like a long time, and it takes like a bunch of fucking up in my experience.
It does. And
be self-aware.
The willingness to fuck up too, like, and to acknowledge that you fucked up. Like that's the hardest part. Like just acknowledging it.
And I think that's why Bryant, I don't want to speak for you, Bryant, but like, I feel like that's also why like both of us are probably like, hey, let's talk about these shitty things that we've done, because it's like, it'll help you either not make neither like harm reduction, like don't hurt people in the way that we hurt them, or also like maybe you can like sit and think about the times you have hurt somebody else and ask yourself why, maybe for the first time, like why the fuck did you do that? You could have just not.
Whenever I was talking to my therapist this morning, he was like, treat it almost like a form of exposure therapy. He was like, when the podcast comes out, listen to it and listen to yourself tell this story and use it as a way to reflect on how you don't want to be that person anymore. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love that so much.
Oh my God. Therapists should be paid like quadruple. Therapists are so good.
I want to actually kind of quickly talk about a couple of like cheating questions I've kind of compiled, and this just kind of goes in general. Obviously I'm mostly coming at it from the receiving end of cheating, but I don't know. I hate using non-monogamy and cheating in the same category, but like when I first opened up with my boyfriend, like and even to this day, even with other partners that I have that are, you know, they have like their other primary partners or whatever, like I've had the common thing where we're both still getting used to being out and about with each other or around each other and doing intimate things that we would normally just do with our primary partner. So it kind of feels like cheating, but it's not, because everyone knows about it. We know like everyone is aware of everything. So, but it still in the end still feels, we would say like there's something wrong, like we shouldn't be doing this. And I think that's us just like destigmatizing our monogamous ways and like, you know, really diving and thriving into, I guess, the polyamorous lifestyle, I should say. But anyway, what makes people cheat? What do you feel makes people cheat? Besides like, I know, okay, so in that article that I'll be putting in the show notes, it kind of goes into that. They said looks can be part of it, obviously like a physical attraction, but it's not always that, because most people, or there's a large percentage of people that wouldn't consider the person that they're cheating on more attractive than their primary partner or like their main partner. Right. It's usually like not, they're just not as cute or whatever. And I'm just gonna be blunt. The persons that my boyfriend cheated on with, I didn't find physically as attractive as I
drag them, girl, drag them.
I'm just gonna throw that, but that's just me. I mean, they're like fairly great looking, but like for me, I was like, I don't know. I knew I looked good, and I was like, it's not that. So what is it? But I think from what I remember him telling me, it had something to do with them giving him attention and him liking that attention and wanting that attention. Maybe it was attention that I wasn't giving him at that point. And, you know, it was just, it was the attention factor.
I think that was a big thing for me, is seeking attention and validation.
Yeah. Feeling validated and like, yes, having that attention. And I wouldn't necessarily completely say it was relatability. I mean, it just depends on the nature of cheating that happens. It can be all over the place. But what would y'all say? Bryant just kind of talked about it, but what would you say made you cheat? Besides convenience for Erin and Bryant, it was, you know, like you said, attention. What is it about getting attention that makes you kind of like not remember everything else that has like gone on in your life, or like in terms of relationships? If you're with someone for a while and then you seek someone else, or someone else comes around and they're giving you more attention, or they're giving you a different type of attention, what is it about that hooks you to there, and it's hard for you to, I guess, analyze it before other things happen?
Right. I think it's for me, like I weirdly have a way of being really, really vulnerable and connecting really quick with people that I just meet, and have a harder time doing it with people that I've known longer, especially with my partners.
Okay.
So it's not being able to fully communicate my needs to my partners, and so easily being able to get that from a stranger.
Gotcha. Do you also feel like it's because, like, in terms of like just strangers in general, like they don't know your whole life, they don't know like your
exactly
they don't know, and it's easier for you to give them all the best of you right now because you know like it probably ain't gonna go past.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm on the same wavelength. I got you. All right, what about you, Erin?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just one thing that I wanted to say, I feel like if somebody is like cheating on you and then they say that the reason is that the other person is like hotter, that's like absolutely stop dating that person. Like, oh my God.
That's messed up.
Like if you're looking for like a partner, like what happens if something like really bad happens to you and you're like not hot anymore? Like that cannot be like that cannot be like the litmus test of your love is like how hot you are. Like that is just like beyond horrible, especially as like a woman, like for a man to like try and say that like because I know people who have had this situation where it's like they've gotten cheated on as like a woman, and the man's like, well, you know, you're not as like fit or like whatever as you used to be. It's like take him out with the absolute trash. Like take him out with the trash. Yeah. Like that is like 100,000 red flags. But I don't know. For me, I mean, and I only have this like one instance, but I also do know that like in my previous relationship, I would sometimes like meet people that I would have like I'd be like excited to like meet, you know, like maybe the guy is attractive or maybe we just have like a fun like conversation. But I feel like the real like money for me was that I wanted like to, you know, have this like adventurous type of life. And I felt like my, and that sounds so fucking like lame, but it's like, I really wanted to like, I don't know. I wanted to like travel and like do theater and like move to another place and like, you know, just, you know, live a certain type of life. And I felt like that those sorts of like wants were always treated as being like frivolous or like immature and like that like
hold on, Erin, what's your sign?
I'm an Aquarius, and I'm a Aries, but I'm an Aries moon and an Aries rising, which according to my sister means something important. I'm not really that into astrology.
I'm not either.
My sister said, double Aries, that means you're crazy. And I went, okay, that checks out. But yeah, I don't know. For me, it's always been like, if I can like really vibe with somebody on like a artistic or like, I don't know, like if we can like just get hype about some like weird symbolic like shit and like have like a really like beyond just like small talk conversation, I'm like, we're a vibe. I mean, that's for friends too. I mean, that's just for anyone, you know, if you can connect with somebody on that level, then that's fucking great. That's
can connect with, usually that's the same way for me, especially when it comes to anything artistic. If someone I know like likes either the same song or like the same band, like we are friends for life because we always have that to connect with. And like I don't know, that gave me a lot of feels right now.
Well, and also just like bring, I think that this might be like a kind of like nice like through line of, because I think what everybody's saying is like you are attracted to people who are excited about things. Like it's attractive when somebody is like excited and like passionate about something, whether that be you or a song or like whatever. And so like I think a lot of times people lose passion, not just for one another, but like just for like their life, like in relationships. And sometimes it's because the passion's not there between you, but sometimes you're just not bringing out the best in another person. Like with my ex, like he, you know, I broke up with him. I felt literally, I still feel, I don't know if you can tell, I still feel horrible about it. Sometimes I think about like what he must like think about me at this point, because, you know, I always talk about him so highly, also because I feel like I need to. I feel like I owe him that. But like, I think about how like I feel so guilty about the way that it happened. But I also think about like after we broke up, he got like super fit and like lost 30 pounds. He like built a boat with his bare hands. He like has since like contracted to build like his own house, and he's like engaged to a girl that seems like really nice, and that they seem like they have a lot of like the same interests in common. And I like look at his life and I'm like, you would have never had any of these things if I wouldn't have broken up with you. Like we would have just been in it like for the long haul. And he like really was, I feel like at the end of our relationship, he was not very passionate about his life. He was really like not, you know, he was not like reaching his highest potential. And I mean, obviously I don't know him anymore, but he really seems like he is. And I think that I didn't bring out the best in him when we were together. I think that and so I think that our attraction wasn't there because we weren't making each other excited about life.
Ooh, that is a word. I'm so sorry, Erin. I have to think about that, because that is like literally, and that's part of our, well, no, I think folks, anyone that's in a relationship and they're wondering if they're bringing the best parts, if they are, like you said, like bringing out the best in if you're not bringing out the best in each other, or you're not passionate about something, just know that I wonder in those instances, especially if couples want to still be together, thruples, couples, whatever, want to still be together at that point, like how can the other partner or partners assist or encourage like that, them to like receive that spark again, like let's say they, you notice that they are just not passionate about something, and instead of like, ducking out, gently or cheating, how can they help? Or like maybe, I don't know, I'm just spitballing. I mean, I think it comes down to overall just having like conversations about it, also acknowledging it and understanding your role, and if you even have the capacity or want to assist them in becoming better,
I think you also have to give them, I mean, even in the best relationships, like people have ups and downs and like bad times and good times. Like, especially, I think everybody in a relationship and not in a relationship had a bad time the last like 2 years at a certain point because of like COVID and stuff. And like, I think that the key is like having enough like confidence to like give them, to be honest with them, and then also give them space to do their own thing. Like sometimes them finding their like passion for things doesn't have to include you, but you do have to like acknowledge it, like for example, my boyfriend is so into professional wrestling. He literally like if he's had a bad day at work, he's like, I had a bad day at work, but I'm so hype about this professional wrestling match, and he will like watch it, and he's like, and I think that it is, I love that he loves it, but I think it is so stupid. But at the end of the day, like am I gonna watch that shit with him? Absolutely. Am I gonna let him like talk to me about like, who's, doing whatever? I'm going to, because he's passionate about it, and that's like fuels him.
You fuel too, a little bit, I would say.
No, it does. It definitely does. Because you want to encourage. Because I mean, what are you going to do? What am I going to do? I'm going to be like, that's stupid. Like that is the worst thing you could do to somebody that you love, is try and like yuck their yum about something they love.
Exactly. Yeah, because that's what makes them who they are. And you don't want to, if you love someone that much, you shouldn't be wanting to change any part of them. Like it should be, if there is something you don't like about them, you can't force them to change that. It has to be once they stop liking that part of themselves as well, and they change it on their home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, life is so hard. It's so hard to find things that like give you like real joy and like excitement. And like if your partner is able to find something that gives them joy and excitement, as long as it's not like hurting anybody, it doesn't matter if you like it.
Let them do it.
If you think it's stupid or whatever, like get over yourself. You're there to like support them in finding as much happiness as they can. And if you can't do that, if you're gonna like make it about you, then like that you need to look at yourself.
Ooh.
I feel like you just read me.
Oh
no. We all are.
No, I'm glad, like everything that you just said, it's like I feel like I needed to hear that, because whenever I was broken up with in my last relationship, I spent so much time hating my partner and resenting them for doing what they like, breaking up with me. And I'm still having a hard time. Like it's been like 3 years now, like seeing like how much better, like how they've been able to grow and be successful. And
I think something's up going on with the internet.
So I needed to hear
bit.
that.
No, but I understand what you're saying, Bryant. Like he was saying that like you know, it's so hard for somebody to see somebody like break up with you and then like see them like doing well or like
without you.
Yeah, because then you feel like, oh, like was I the problem? But honestly, it's like it takes two to tango in any situation, you know, like it's like that doesn't mean that you were the problem, or it doesn't mean that like in my last relationship, I was the problem. The thing is that we were the problem.
Yeah.
And somebody at the end of the day, I mean, like, I feel like a lot of people are like, the breakup was mutual, but like, I feel like that's never really the case. Like somebody always, for the most part, is like the initiator. And so at the end of the day, it's like, somebody's got to do it. It's just, if once the relationship is bad, you're just playing a game of chicken to see who's going to do it first,
who's going to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's what hit me the hardest is like, usually I'm the one that does it first. And like having it, the tables turned on me was just like, it feels like it's not going to hurt as much, even though it still hurts. But it's whenever the tables were turned and it was happening to me and getting that gut punch, it was just like, damn.
It's because you want to feel irreplaceable, but the key is that everybody is irreplaceable. No, when you go from one relationship to another, you're not replacing that person. Like I am a completely different person in this relationship than I was in the last relationship. I didn't cheat and then like replace my boyfriend. I just like moved on with my life, and then another person came into the mix, as happens with everybody. So like I feel like a lot of people's fear is like being forgotten or like being replaced. But I mean, that's the only way you can solve that is within yourself. Nobody's gonna do that for you, because there's always going to be more people.
This world they got a bunch of fish out here. I'm just saying.
A bunch.
But let's kind of wrap up. We definitely went over time, and this may be a 2-part episode, but that's okay. I want to wrap up and just kind of give some quick advice from maybe all of us for, let's say, people that are currently cheating, who are afraid of telling their partners that they're cheating. What advice would you give to them?
Man, I can go first, I guess.
Okay.
There was just that we all looked at each other with this like silence. You know, I mean, I think we're all going to say the same thing. And I think anybody who's like cheating on their partner and listening to this podcast probably knows that we're going to say that you should absolutely tell them. I think that, you know, if for anything, it should be out of the respect that you have for the person that you're with. You know, you need to have enough respect for them to believe that they will make the decision that is best for them with all of the information. And if you don't give them all of the information, You are putting them at a disadvantage in their own life. And you are not they are not like, you need to know what you're getting into in a relationship, and in order to like consent to everything that's happening. And if you're keeping something from them, you're not trusting that they can make the right call for themselves in their lives. And if you fear that if you are going to be honest with the person that you're with, that they're not gonna love you, then you need to be with somebody that you can be honest with. You need to be with somebody who is gonna hear you, and also you need to be able to admit that you fucked up and that you did something wrong. And you also need to be able to maybe practice in the mirror, maybe practice talking to a friend, articulating why you did what you did, because they are going to be hurt, but you telling them is not what's hurting them. You doing what you did is what hurt them. You already hurt them. So now it's just a matter of being able to own up to it. And I think that if at the end of the day, the relationship ends, then, maybe it's because you weren't bringing out the best in one another.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Bryant.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, one thing we're all gonna say is tell them. And
by telling them, hold on, by telling
like me,
them,
if you find yourself like,
oh, sorry. I'll say that. You know what? I'm gonna leave mine for after. Go ahead, Bryant. I'm so sorry.
Tell them, and if you are stuck in a cyclically jumping relationship to relationship and perpetually cheating, maybe it's time to take a break and do some real work on yourself. That's what's been helping me. I mean, it's been a very long break, but it was much needed, because I know that I'm still not my best self, and I don't want to be in another failed relationship, bring to the table what I deserve in a relationship and what my partner deserves from me in a relationship.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I love that. It's important.
Go to therapy.
Go
to therapy. 100%.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I can't even tell. I mean, not even just if you've cheated on somebody, but like if you're
general.
Yeah, just if you're in general, because I mean, it's hard, especially when you're in like, relationships, when somebody else is like depending on you, like emotionally, like you've got to be showing up for them. And a lot of times, one thing that I learned, like this, especially this past couple of years, is like sometimes like you're having a problem with your partner, but it's not a problem with them. It's a problem with you, and you're not. And it's
yourself.
It's so easy when you're with one person all the time to project your own problems onto them, because they're there and they're built like this like built-in like sounding board for your feelings. And it's so easy to like blame them for all the feelings that you're having, when it's much harder to flip that around and be like, why am I acting like this?
Yeah.
Like, why do I feel this way when they just did this like small thing? And it's a really helpful to go to therapy if you can afford it.
Do the work to gain self-awareness.
Yes. One of the, and I'm going to piggyback off of what just Erin and Bryant just said, but if y'all have been listening for the last couple of episodes, I go to therapy 4 days a week. And so this comes up a lot. And I think what Erin is really just trying to say is that in terms of when you think that it's your partner's problem, or that it's something that your partner is doing, yes, there are instances of that, but it's mostly because your boundaries have been crossed and you're not communicating that. Whether they're small boundaries or big boundaries, if something is bothering you within the context of your relationship, that you think it's your partner that's doing, but again, you haven't communicated. The partner doesn't know this, so they're just doing it, and you're getting annoyed by it. Let's say, and it's because your boundaries are being crossed, and they have not been communicated to that partner. So I learned that in therapy, and I use it in all of my relationships.
It's like,
these days.
don't cross the boundary in your relationship as a whole because you failed to set boundaries with your partner.
Exactly.
Yes. But then an important thing is that it is your responsibility then to communicate your boundaries to your partner, but then it's on them to respect those boundaries once you've communicated them to them.
Exactly.
And that's what being in a healthy relationship is being able to meet your partner where they're at, regardless of all their bullshit, and just trying your best to understand where they're coming from and know that it's not all about you.
Yeah.
That they're a separate person with their own history and their own shit. And you guys got to figure out how you can best, grow as individuals together.
Yeah. And I'll also, so this is my advice for people that are currently cheating, who are afraid to tell their partners that they're cheating. I really think that it comes down to what both of y'all just said, like just telling them. But I think kind of what we were talking about at the beginning, cheating is so all over the place. If you are,
it's complicated.
It can be complicated. It's not just set in stone. Oh, someone slept with another person that's not you. Your boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, their partner slept with someone that's not you. Oh, it's definitely cheating. It can be as simple as just a text message that someone sends, and it's risky and it was not told to you. Like, it's just lying. Like, don't lie. But yeah, no, my advice would be, oh gosh, I hate when that happens. My head was like, it had it and then it went away. And
it's also because you're so emotional. You're feeling your emotions, so you're trying to like sort through them. I think you had come at it from such like a nuanced point of view, because it like happened to you, and you found out. But like, do you wish that you would have been told sooner?
Yeah, I wish that would have been told right then and there. I wish I would have just been told, hey, I'm attracted to my coworkers. And honestly, I feel like even if when that starts to happen and you communicate that with your partner early, like right then and there, like that should be, and that's the other thing. That's what I was trying to say. And this is just in terms of like monogamy culture. I think we assume that we just don't do certain things. We don't actually communicate what that person or your partner is actually okay with. So like even just having conversations about, okay, who we are attracted to, like, is that okay in a relationship? Is that the boundary? Like there's like having those smaller, like those are the conversations obviously that you don't want to dig into. But some people like myself, when I was still like practicing monogamy, I didn't care. Like, let me know who you attracted to. Like it didn't really bother me. I mean, it still like brought up some feelings of jealousy, but like it's better than you cheating on me, or better than like me not knowing anything at all and just being like blindsided. So I say, like, if you were starting to feel attracted to someone that's not your partner, let your partner know. Let them know. Please let them know. And if there is if you're afraid that they are going to, if you're afraid of their reaction, then I don't know what to tell you, because like, this is the circle of life. Like life happens and you get like, we are attracted to people. That happens, and you can't control who you are attracted to. Even if it's not, maybe what if this, I don't know. I think about Lizzie McGuire, okay? Lizzie McGuire loves Ethan Kraft. Ethan Kraft was shit, okay? But like Lizzie would always just like, like he wasn't that bad, but like he just wasn't the ideal like person. But like I think of myself like if I were Lizzie and I like and I liked an Ethan Kraft, but I had like a Gordo boyfriend or something like that. And I just tell Gordo, yeah, do y'all watch Lizzie McGuire? Did y'all watch Lizzie
Of course,
McGuire? Okay,
of course.
Yeah.
Lizzie McGuire raised me.
Definitely.
Okay, great. And like I'm telling Gordo about this, right? And you know, Gordo already knows like ill, like Ethan is not all that or whatever, but like Gordo is still gonna be there for you anyway. But like the fact that Lizzie can just let Gordo know and just be open to the fact that she's attracted to Ethan Kraft. Normally something just the admittance of it will sometimes have that attraction dwindle away.
I was just about to say that. I was just about, because I think sometimes you get excited by keeping a secret. And it's like sometimes just saying it out loud makes it less exciting because it's not a secret anymore. And then you realize that you weren't excited by that person. You were excited by the secret.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So in this instance, yeah, you're already kind of dwindling it away. And you may not even have to tell the person you're attracted to that you're attracted to them. I mean, you can if that's allowed in your relationship to do that, but I'm coming from a monogamous standpoint here. Usually you would not, and in respect to your actual partner. But if that's allowed, like at least for me right now, like I don't have boundaries where like I can't tell someone that I'm attracted to them, I'm attracted to them. I will tell a whole room of people if they're all hot that I'm attracted to all of them. Like I don't care. But and my partner's gonna be fine with it. But you know, I think in that nuance, you should make sure early on in a relationship, I wouldn't even say while you're like getting completely serious, like find out from that person what boundaries they have in terms of like what they can tolerate. If it's hard for them to figure out what their boundaries are, which is honestly, we realize what our boundaries are once they are crossed, not necessarily as we're trying to like lay them out. We normally only find out what our boundaries are when they are crossed. And then you gotta be like, yeah, that's a boundary. And I'm so sorry I didn't tell you this sooner. But yeah, make sure that you know what their boundaries are. Make sure you can allow space to find out what those boundaries are as well.
I also
We are
think
not perfect people.
asking instead of just waiting for them to tell you. Like if you find yourself like in a situation where you like are like flirt with somebody at a party and your partner's there, be like, hey, was that okay with you? Like we were just messing around. Like, did that make you feel uncomfortable? And like ask them, like, especially if if you have a partner who's like less open with their feelings, or like less good at articulating their boundaries. If you're like the talker in the relationship, check in with them.
You gotta
and
check in.
but also trust them when they tell you how they feel.
Yes. And once those boundaries are set, respect them. And sometimes those boundaries won't always be there. Sometimes they will change, they will evolve. Just keep checking in to make sure they haven't changed, or that if they have changed, because like things can happen, y'all. Things happen, especially during COVID. Lord, things change. Like things be changing so quick, they be changing faster than the season.
They do be changing.
Yeah. Well, this was such a wonderful conversation. I wish we could, like, literally, this is going to be 2 episodes. I already know it's going to be 2 episodes, and that's cool. But I appreciate y'all coming on. Now, I don't know if y'all want folks to know where to find you on socials, but if you do, feel free to leave your socials right now so that they can follow you. And if they don't, it's fine.
Y'all can follow me. Okay. It's not a secret. I'm Erin Sheets, like sheets on your bed. My Instagram is Erin E Sheets. Very creative, I know. Don't at me. But yeah, follow me on Instagram. I post pictures of my cute little old dog, and fit pics in the high school bathroom. That's what I got.
Yeah, I love it.
Nice. Y'all can follow me at Cornbread Booty on Instagram. And also Cornbread's Kitchen. Whenever I was living in New Orleans, I would do like pop-ups, like Cajun food pop-ups and gumbo. I'm working on hopefully finding some pop-up spots for the winter to do gumbo in New Orleans.
Woo! So, I'll be there. I'll be there.
So stay tuned. And then on my main profile, I just post a lot of like mental health and disability advocacy posts.
Nice.
on my story. So definitely check that out.
Hell yeah. Yeah, see, Jessica, you knew we were going to plug our Instagram, so I told you we're narcissists.
Wait. So your cornbread kitchen on Instagram?
Cornbread's Kitchen.
Cornbread's kitchen.
Yeah.
Cornbreads. I'm trying to put it in right now. Cornbread's kitchen. All right, I got you.
She's like, gumbo. Hey, y'all should ship to Chicago. Just put it in a freezer bag.
Yep. Okay, y'all.
You can't find okra in this fucking city.
I already knew that. I feel
Really?
like I went up there one time trying to look for it because I was gonna make gumbo or something. I was just like, I can't find it nowhere.
No, when I make gumbo, I just make it with like shrimp. It's so sad. It's real sad, y'all.
Oh yeah.
It's all right. It doesn't flood here though, so that's nice.
Yeah, y'all don't have hurricanes, but y'all got everything else. Y'all got that really windy weather.
Oh yeah, but global warming has really, really helped it out.
Hey.
Y'all got some nice summers though. That's what I was gonna try to go to Chicago during the summer.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
If I was like a millionaire, like when I make it big, I'm gonna have like a winter house in New Orleans and a summer house in Chicago. I'll just go back and forth.
That sounds perfect.
Yeah. Yep. I love it. All right, y'all.
I should get a theater and education first, but
yeah. Okay, everybody. Well, if you loved this conversation, please share it with your friends. You can rate highly on Apple Podcasts, please. No, I'm not gonna beg y'all. Y'all know y'all already like this show, so y'all, you know this content gets to people who definitely need the affirmation that they're not alone and in their curiosities in the world. So I know y'all gonna come through with those ratings. I'm not even gonna beg because I already know y'all got me. And these episodes also would not be possible without my Patreon community. And thankfully a part of this conversation will be put up there so y'all get to hear a little bit more about my story with cheating. But the Self-Aware Millennial, again, is fully funded by my beautiful community on Patreon. If you would like to support me, support the show, keep everything coming with this awesome content, you can visit www.patreon.com/the Self-Aware Millennial. And once we get to 50 patrons, I can begin branching these conversations out to local communities. What I think would be really cool is to do a collaboration with you, Bryant, while you're here in New Orleans with like your gumbo and everything. And like, I don't know, we just have like little talks or whatever. I don't know. We're going to make it work. We're going to find a way. But
Gumbo talks, yes.
Gumbo talks with the Self-Aware Millennial and Cornbread Booty. I see it. Okay, well, if y'all want this to happen, y'all, this can't just happen for free. We have to get it sponsored. So sponsor the Self-Aware Millennial. I'm a Black woman on a mission to normalize these uncomfortable discussions in communities where they need to happen the most and with groups of people and, that needs to happen the most. If you want to support that happening, make sure you email me at hold on. You need to email me at theselfawaremillennial@gmail.com. Or you can DM me. I'm not that completely formal, but if I would much rather you email me, but if you send me a DM or, it's fine. I don't really care. I will answer. I'm the one that answers usually, so you're good. But while we're at it, I feel like I don't let folks know about like where they can find me on social media. Now I have a personal page, which is J.Mix Explains It All, but my podcast pages can be found on Instagram at The Self-Aware Millennial. On Facebook, just search up The Self-Aware Millennial. I'm not really on Facebook, so don't worry about Facebook and everything. YouTube, I'm on YouTube. These episodes that you are hearing are also available visually on YouTube as well. And then I'm also on TikTok, y'all. I'm on TikTok, okay? So follow me on those platforms. Wow. Yeah, I know. I'm actually just starting to get into it. Sometimes I forget I have the TikTok, but when I do remember, I'm like, oh yeah. Like it's a completely different community, and I absolutely love it. I don't know. I feel like I'm a Gen Zer at heart. I'm a Zillennial, as they say with the Z, Zillennial. So I feel like I'm at home when I'm at TikTok, but I'm also feeling at home when I'm like with Instagram. I can totally tell the age differences, though. I can tell like the maturity levels. I don't know. Like there's just a lot to it. Anyway, so
I do also. If you are a millennial and you are not on TikTok, that's not very self-aware of you. Because that's what all the cool kids are doing.
Yeah, they are, and they're also like really like They're
I'm still
so
learning how to
with
TikTok.
themselves. Well, that's okay. We can have like, I don't know, a self-aware millennial TikTok learning session, training session course situation. We'll do that. But yeah, y'all, follow.
But don't let Gen Z know about it because they'll drag us if they know that we're
you're
doing
right.
a DIY.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that great at it. I'm not really always on it. It's just so many social media platforms. I just can't handle all of them right now because I'm also like a social media manager for another company, and then like there's just a lot. So, yeah, y'all follow me on all those platforms: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. And thank you again for listening to another episode of The Self-Aware Millennial. Again, I am your host, J.Mix, and I will see you next time. Bye.